Imagine waking up each morning, checking your bank account, and feeling like no matter how much you earn, it's never quite enough. You've worked long hours, perhaps even extra shifts, saved diligently, and yet at the end of the month, there is a subtle emptiness, a quiet frustration that whispers, "I should be further along." This sensation is not rare, and it's not a reflection of laziness or poor judgment. It is, in fact, a mathematical and psychological phenomenon woven deeply into how humans perceive wealth and consumption, an invisible framework that most people unknowingly fall into throughout their lives.
My name is Mac, and in a few minutes, you will understand the math behind why most people never feel wealthy.
Our brains are wired to notice scarcity, to compare, and to recalibrate expectations continuously, and the systems we live within amplify these tendencies. Understanding why this feeling persists requires peeling back the layers of both behavioral economics and the underlying money mechanics that shape our daily financial reality.
Perception. Why is money never enough? Let's start with a confession most people never say out loud. You got the raise. You hit the milestone. Maybe you even paid off something big. And for about 3 days, you felt it. That quiet, satisfied feeling of finally being okay. And then it disappeared. Not because something went wrong. Not because of an emergency or an unexpected bill. It just faded. And suddenly, the number in your account that once seemed like a finish line now feels like a starting point. This isn't weakness. This isn't ingratitude. This is perception, and it is playing you like a game it invented. Here's what's actually happening beneath the surface. Human beings don't measure wealth in absolutes. We measure it in comparisons. Your brain isn't asking, do I have enough? It's asking, do I have enough relative to the person next to me? And that person next to you, they just upgraded their car. So the benchmark shifts, quietly, without permission. Psychologists call this social comparison theory. You didn't choose it. Evolution built it in. In tribal communities, knowing where you stood relative to others was a survival tool. Today, it's the reason you feel vaguely unsettled scrolling through someone else's vacation photos at 11 p.m. And now factor in lifestyle inflation. The moment income rises, spending rises to meet it, almost automatically, almost invisibly. The $50,000 a year version of you saved $5,000 and felt pretty disciplined about it. The $75,000 version saves $10,000, objectively twice as much, but the apartment's bigger, the subscriptions multiplied, the grocery bill crept up. The savings ratio barely moved. And yet somehow you expected to feel twice as secure. You don't. And now you're confused about why. This is the illusion at the center of perceived wealth. It's not that the money isn't real. It is. It's growing. The problem is that your reference point grows with it. Like a shadow you can never outrun no matter how fast you move. Wealth isn't just a number. It's a relationship between what you have and what you believe you should have. And until that second number is examined honestly, the first one will never feel like enough. Perception is the first wall, and now you know it's there.
Psychology. Your brain was never built for money, and it shows. If you've ever made a perfectly logical financial decision in the morning and completely reversed it by evening, welcome. You're not irrational. You're human, which, financially speaking, is almost the same thing. Here's the uncomfortable truth about your relationship with money. Your brain is running software designed for a world that no longer exists. Ancient, adaptive, brilliant at keeping you alive in a forest, and almost comically bad at managing a savings account. Let's start with loss aversion. In the 1970s, psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky discovered something that should have been obvious, but wasn't. Losses hurt roughly twice as much as equivalent gains feel good. Earn an extra $500 this month? You notice. You move on. Lose $500? It sits with you. It colors your day. It follows you home. This asymmetry doesn't just affect how you feel, it affects every financial decision you make. It's why people hold on to losing investments too long. Selling feels like locking in a loss, and the brain protests. It's why a potential pay cut triggers more anxiety than a potential raise triggers excitement. The math is equal. The emotional experience is nowhere close. Now layer on reference point shifting. Your brain doesn't evaluate your financial situation in isolation. It constantly benchmarks against external signals: what colleagues are earning, what friends are driving, what strangers on the internet appear to own. And here's the cruel mechanics of it. As your wealth grows, your reference points grow faster. The circle you move in expands. The standards you absorb quietly escalate. What felt like luxury 2 years ago is now simply baseline. And then there's present bias, perhaps the most expensive quirk of all. When given the choice between a reward now and a larger reward later, the human brain systematically overvalues the present, not slightly, dramatically. The dinner out tonight registers as vivid, real, and satisfying. The investment that will compound into something significant in 15 years registers as distant, abstract, almost theoretical. So the brain chooses the dinner, every time, unless you build systems that make it choose differently. This is why automated savings work, not because you become a more disciplined person, you don't, but because you remove the decision from a brain that was never equipped to make it well under temptation. Here's the most important thing to understand. None of this is a character flaw. It is architecture. The same cognitive systems that made your ancestors cautious, comparative, and pleasure-seeking kept them alive. Those same systems, untrained and unexamined in the modern financial world, quietly drain accounts and stall wealth. The fix isn't willpower. It's awareness, followed by design. Know the biases, then build your financial life around them rather than pretending they don't exist, because they always do.
Money mechanics. The math doesn't lie, but most people never look at it honestly. Strip everything away, the emotions, the comparisons, the psychological noise, and what you have left is a set of rules. Clean, consistent, indifferent rules that govern exactly how money moves, grows, and disappears. The math of money has no feelings. It doesn't care if you're stressed, ambitious, or underpaid. It simply executes. And once you understand the mechanics, you stop feeling like money is something that happens to you and start seeing it as something you can deliberately engineer. Let's start with the equation most people never consciously confront. Your wealth at any given point isn't your income. It isn't your salary figure or your job title. It is assets minus liabilities. What you own minus what you owe. That's it. Everything else is noise. Income is just a rate of flow. What matters is how much of that flow you capture and keep. Most people optimize for income. The money mechanic optimizes for the gap. Now, compounding, because this is where the math gets quietly extraordinary. $200 a month. That number sounds modest, unremarkable, but invested consistently at a 6% annual return over 30 years, that $200 per month becomes $181,000. You contributed roughly $72,000 of actual cash. The rest, over $100,000, was created by time and mathematics, not by effort. Here's what makes that number powerful and heartbreaking in equal measure. The people who need it most, those who start early but feel like the amounts are too small to matter, are the ones who stop. They don't see the compounding, because compounding is invisible in the early years. It backloads its rewards, and a brain wired for immediate feedback gives up right before the curve begins to accelerate. Conversely, overspending early doesn't just cost you the money you spend, it costs you every future dollar that money would have created. The real price of lifestyle inflation isn't the upgraded apartment, it's the compounding you silently surrendered. Now, let's talk about the structural forces working against you, because this isn't just personal behavior, the system has mechanics too. Credit is designed to decouple spending from consequence. Marketing is engineered to manufacture desire faster than income can satisfy it. Economic cycles alternate boom and scarcity in patterns that train anxiety into the population. Spend when you have it, panic when you don't. Even inflation quietly erodes purchasing power, meaning that money sitting idle isn't stable, it's slowly shrinking. These aren't conspiracy theories, they're documented mechanics, and understanding them transforms you from someone reacting to an invisible system into someone who can navigate it deliberately. So, what does the mechanical approach to wealth actually look like in practice? It looks like tracking net worth, not monthly income, as your primary financial metric. It looks like treating savings as a fixed expense, not whatever's left over. It looks like understanding that the savings to income ratio matters more than the raw number, because proportional consistency is what the math rewards over time. Most importantly, it looks like patience, which is the hardest thing to sell in a world optimized for urgency. The math doesn't reward the highest earner, it rewards the most consistent actor. It rewards the person who saves $200 a month for 30 years over the person who earns $200,000 for 5 and spends every dollar of it. Mechanics don't negotiate. They don't respond to excuses or circumstances or good intentions. They simply execute whatever behavior you feed them. Feed them well, and they will work harder for you than any salary ever could.
If you made it this far, you already think differently than most people. Don't lose that. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And then go to the comments right now and answer this. What's one money belief you grew up with that you've had to unlearn? Seriously, drop it below. Those conversations are the best part of this.